You ever watch a rumor grow so fast that it starts sounding like a fact? One minute people are arguing about a rap beef, and the next minute the internet is claiming a young rapper got attacked, ended up in the hospital, and his father was crying at the bedside. Sounds like a movie scene, right? But this is exactly what went viral. The idea that King Harris was hospitalized after an attack linked to 50 Cent's Circle, and that T.I. broke down over it. The problem is, the internet loves drama more than it loves proof. So before anyone believes anything, we need to slow down and trace what actually happened, step by step, from the real beef to the fake add-ons people threw on top for clicks. And trust me, once you see the full timeline, you'll understand why this story was the perfect bait for content pages, because this wasn't just two rappers arguing. This turned into a whole family being pulled into a fight with one of the most ruthless online trolls hip-hop has ever seen. The real question is, how did it get that messy from something as simple as a Razoo's battle idea? It starts with an event that never even happened. The latest chapter of this beef kicked off when T.I. talked about a Razoo's matchup that fans had been begging for, T.I. versus 50 Cent. On paper, it's a monster battle. Two artists from the same era, both with huge hits, both with strong personalities, both with fans who swear their guy is untouchable. During the Razoo's era, especially when everyone was stuck at home and battles became a cultural event, this matchup felt like it could break the internet, and that's the first thing that makes people lean in. If the matchup was so big, why didn't it happen? T.I.'s version is that it wasn't just fan talk. He says there were conversations. He says there was a plan. According to him, the battle wasn't supposed to be about humiliation. It was about celebrating catalogs. He explained that he didn't randomly call 50 out in public like he was chasing clout. He made it sound like they were already in similar spaces, moving around in Los Angeles, connected through shows and business. In his mind, it was normal for two veterans to do something big and historic. But here comes the part that T.I. says killed his respect. He claimed there was an agreement about the rollout. T.I. would mention it publicly first, and then 50 would respond and confirm, and then everything would move forward. Simple, clean, a planned announcement. Except T.I. says when he finally mentioned it publicly, 50 acted confused like he didn't know what T.I. was talking about. And if you're T.I., that feels like a setup. Because what hits harder, someone saying, "I don't want to do it," or someone acting like you're making it up. That's where T.I. went from excited to insulted. He said straight up that he doesn't want to stand on stage with 50 and that he doesn't respect him. And once a rapper says, "I don't respect you," you're not talking about business anymore. You're talking about pride. And pride is the one thing that turns a small disagreement into a long war. Now, here's something a lot of people forget. This tension did not start with Razoo's. These two have old history. There were snitching rumors floating around T.I. for years, and 50 Cent was one of the loud voices who hinted at it. There was that period when T.I. caught a serious weapons case and got a sentence that made some people raise eyebrows. In hip-hop, people don't just let that go. They turn it into a label. And 50 has never been the type to keep his thoughts private. So the moment T.I.'s comments started circulating online, fans didn't just see a Razoo's debate, they saw old tension coming back to life. And everyone knows 50 Cent's style. He doesn't respond like a normal person. He responds like a man who enjoys chaos. Instead of calmly addressing T.I.'s claims or confirming anything about Razoo's, 50 leaned into Instagram trolling, memes, captions, little jabs that are designed to make the other person look emotional. And then he started throwing serious words too. At one point, he called T.I. King Rat in a comment section. And in rap culture, that's not a joke. That's basically calling someone fake, dangerous, and disloyal all in one word. T.I. fired back hard. He basically said, "You're playing on my name, but only one of us is a real rat in real life." He claimed he had paperwork and that his own transcript is online. Then he dared 50 to stop with the excuses and really step into the box, like, come outside and stand on what you're saying. Whether you believe T.I. or not, you can feel what he was doing. He was trying to flip the rat label back onto 50. Because once that label sticks, it ruins your image. And here's where curiosity kicks in again. Whenever famous rappers start yelling, "I got paperwork," why does the internet treat it like a final weapon? Because most of the time, fans never see real documents. They just see captions and screenshots. So is it about truth? Or is it about staining someone's name so badly that people never look at them the same again? Up to this point, it was still a pretty normal modern rap beef. Two grown men, online insults, fans watching, blogs posting screenshots. Then 50 made a move that changed the entire feeling of the fight. Instead of keeping it between him and T.I., 50 posted an unflattering photo of T.I.'s wife, Tiny Harris, with a warning like, "Keep my name out your mouth." That's when the room changed. Because Tiny wasn't the one arguing about Verzuz. Tiny wasn't calling 50 a rat. Tiny wasn't doing anything publicly in this conflict. She's an artist with her own career, a member of Scape, a respected name in R&B, and also T.I.'s wife. But she wasn't part of the online exchange. 50 basically pulled her into it as a way to poke T.I. where it hurts. And that's what people need to understand about trolling. The point is not logic. The point is reaction. 50 knows exactly what kind of post will make someone lose their cool. And when you involve someone's wife, you're not winning a debate. You're trying to trigger a protective instinct. The internet noticed immediately. Even some people who normally laugh at 50's post said this wasn't funny. People said, "Keep beef between men." Others said, "Why are you attacking her?" Because it felt like a cheap shot. And in hip-hop, cheap shots often invite expensive consequences. T.I. did respond in the comments, but his response wasn't even the biggest part. The biggest part was what happened next inside his family. Because there was one person who took that tiny post personally in a different way. That person was King Harris. King is T.I. and Tiny's 21-year-old son. He's young, he's loud, and he doesn't have the same patience or industry discipline that older artists sometimes force themselves to have. When King saw his mom being mocked by a man with millions of followers, he didn't treat it like a celebrity game. He treated it like disrespect. And the moment King stepped in, this stopped being T.I. versus 50. This became 50 versus the Harris household. King went on Instagram and started posting and ranting, and his words were not gentle. He didn't aim at 50's music. He didn't aim at business. He aimed at the most sensitive place possible. 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson. King told 50 to post a picture of his own mother. He told him to pay respects. He told him to stop playing with his mom. Then King went even further and said things that shocked people, including telling 50 to dig up his deceased mother. That's where many people felt the line was crossed. Because insulting a living person's wife is one kind of disrespect. But bringing a dead parent into it is a different kind of darkness. And King didn't only say it. He posted images too, including what appeared to be a grave site connected to Sabrina Jackson and even the name on a headstone. Now think about what that means in the real world. This wasn't a lyric. This wasn't a random insult. This was someone allegedly locating a grave and turning it into content. That's why the internet froze for a second. Because people started asking, how did King even find it? And why would he post that publicly? And King didn't stop with that. He posted more, old court clips, references to past legal issues, images involving 50's family. It looked like King was trying to overwhelm 50 with receipts and humiliation. Like, if you can embarrass my mom, I can embarrass you everywhere. This is where the audience split into teams. Some people said King was wrong no matter what, because dead family members should be off limits. Others said 50 started it by dragging Tiny into it. And when you bring people's mothers and wives into a fight, you can't control how they respond. And then some people pointed out the biggest irony of all. 50 is famous for having no boundaries. But if you operate with no boundaries long enough, you eventually meet someone who plays the same way. That's the real danger of this kind of beef. It's not about who has better jokes. It's about escalation. One person crosses a line, the other person crosses a darker line, then somebody wants payback, and suddenly the internet is no longer watching a beef. They're watching people damage each other's real lives. And 50's response? He did what he always does. Instead of matching King's emotion, he posted a meme-style reaction, like lol, acting unbothered. That's part of his online strategy. If you look amused, the other person looks unstable. If you look calm, the other person looks like they lost control. 50 has survived 2 decades of beefs using that exact formula. But King didn't back off. He kept going. He posted long lists of complaints about 50, old beefs, old moments, old humiliations, even bringing up other people who have had issues with 50 over the years. It turned into a full campaign, and you could feel the generational clash. A veteran troll who knows how to control the narrative versus a young guy who is responding from emotion and family pride. Then T.I. shifted lanes. Instead of only arguing online, he started putting music out. He dropped a song called War, and then more diss-style material followed. Whether every line was aimed at 50 or not, the timing made it look connected. And that's another thing that keeps people watching. When one side brings music and the other side brings memes. Who really wins the public? Because music feels serious, but memes spread faster. And then King took it even further. He released his own diss track, Made Man. That was a major moment because it showed he wasn't just ranting. He was trying to stand in the arena. It wasn't about radio play, it was about sending a message, I'm not letting this go. Soon after that came another big move, paperwork accusations. King posted what appeared to be official FBI-style documents from 2009, suggesting 50 cooperated or made an anonymous tip linked to an investigation. King's caption basically said, "You called my dad a rat. So what is this?" That's the hip-hop nuclear option, snitch claims. Because once you accuse someone of cooperating, you're attacking their whole brand. But here's the critical detail that a lot of viral pages leave out. Those exact documents have been floating around the internet for years, and federal officials have been cited before saying the documents were fake. These papers pop up every time someone is beefing with 50. People have reposted similar stuff in the past. So whether King believed it, or whether he posted it as a statement, the internet already had history with that screenshot. And that leads to another curiosity question in modern beef. Is it about truth, or about what looks true in a screenshot? Because most people never verify anything. They just pick the image that fits the story they already want to believe. As the days passed, more people started reacting. Rick Ross even showed support for King, adding another layer to the drama. And when other rappers start picking sides, the conflict stops being personal and starts becoming a public scoreboard. At the same time, King did something that surprised many people. He apologized to 50's son, Marquise, saying the kid had nothing to do with the beef and admitting he spoke from emotion. He basically said, as a man, he was wrong and he wanted to chop it up. That moment stood out because you rarely see that kind of pause in the middle of an ego war. It suggested King realized that dragging children into the fight was a different kind of wrong. And that's where the story gets even more confusing for casual viewers. Because if King is apologizing and showing some maturity, why did the internet suddenly start claiming he was attacked and hospitalized? This is the part that went viral. Posts started spreading that King Harris had been jumped by people connected to 50 Cent's camp, that he was hospitalized. Some pages even claimed he was in a coma, and that T.I. was crying over it. It spread fast because it sounds like the next logical step in a beef that already felt out of control. People believed it because they wanted to believe it, and content farms pushed it because it guaranteed clicks. But when you look for proof, the story falls apart. There was no verified hospital photo, no credible video, no reliable outlet confirming it. A lot of the posts pushing the claim came from random TikTok pages using dramatic AI voiceovers, editing old clips and presenting it like breaking news. They used emotional footage of T.I. from completely different moments, then slapped a new story on top like a label. And people shared it without checking because it felt exciting. Here's the simple truth. The beef is real. The Verzouz argument is real. The tiny photo is real. The diss tracks are real. The documents being posted are real in the sense that they were posted, even if the documents themselves have been disputed before. The police in South Fulton even reportedly had to tell people to stop calling them about a rap beef, which shows how far the internet takes things. All of that is grounded in reality. But the hospitalization claim, that's a different category. That's rumor. And the easiest way to test a rumor is to ask a basic question. Does the behavior match the claim? King had been active online through this whole saga, posting, responding, dropping a diss track, apologizing. That doesn't look like someone secretly in a hospital bed while the internet breaks news. It looks like someone fully awake, fully engaged, and fully online. So why do people still believe it? Because the rumor feeds the audience what they crave, a dramatic ending, of real-world consequence. A shocking twist. Viral pages know that he got hospitalized sounds more serious than they argued again on Instagram. It turns a messy online fight into a crime story, and crime stories spread faster. Now ask yourself this. If the hospitalization story is fake, who benefits from pushing it? Not King, not T.I., not even 50 necessarily. The people who benefit are the pages that earn views, comments, and shares. They take a real beef and add fictional scenes to keep the audience addicted. And that brings us to the moment many people missed. 50 Cent, who usually never deletes anything, started removing some posts about the feud. Some people read that as, things went too far. Others read it as, business cleanup, because 50 has TV projects, Broadway promotion, and brand image to maintain. But the timing made people speculate, and speculation is gasoline for rumor pages. So where does that leave us right now? It leaves us with two truths at the same time. 1. This beef is real, and it has become generational, messy, and personal. 2. The most dramatic part, the claim that King was attacked and hospitalized and T.I. cried over. It has not been confirmed by any reliable source and looks like a fabricated storyline built by content farms. And if you're wondering what happens next, here's the scary part. In a beef like this, anything can trend overnight, whether it's real or not. The internet doesn't wait for facts. It picks a story, repeats it, and turns it into common knowledge. That's how false narratives become stronger than real timelines. So the question isn't just who started it. The real question is, with this much anger, this much trolling, and this many people watching, what stops the next rumor from becoming even worse? And what happens if one day the rumor is no longer fake? Because 1 week ago, people were just debating a versus that never happened. Now people are calling police departments, posting alleged paperwork, dropping diss tracks, and spreading hospital stories with AI voiceovers like it's a news report. That's not just a beef, that's a machine. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting, because the beef itself is loud. But the rumor ecosystem around it is even louder. And once you understand how that rumor machine works, you'll start noticing the same pattern in almost every viral celebrity story you see online. After the gravesite posts, the diss tracks, and the paperwork screenshots started flying around, the internet did what it always does. It tried to predict the next chapter before it even happened. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were writing fan fiction in real time. And the most shareable version of that fan fiction was the idea that the beef had moved from Instagram to real-life violence. That King Harris got attacked by people connected to 50's side, and that T.I. was crying over it. That story spread because it felt like the kind of thing that could happen when a beef goes too far. But could happen is not the same as did happen. And that's the first curiosity moment in this part of the script. Why do people believe something faster when it sounds like a logical ending to the drama, even if there's no proof? The answer is simple, because the internet rewards emotions, not evidence. Look at what the rumor pages did. They didn't come with hospital paperwork. They didn't come with a police report. They didn't come with a statement from any verified source. What they came with was a dramatic voiceover, a few pictures mashed together, and a storyline that sounded scary enough to make people comment, "Prayers up." And this is what happens when you play with the wrong people. They didn't need proof, because the comments section became the proof in people's minds. Once thousands of people are reacting like it's real, the next person assumes it must be real too. And here's the trick. Most of those viral clips weren't even reporting. They were recycling. They would take old footage of T.I. looking emotional from an entirely different moment, cut it out of context, and then speak over it with an AI voice saying, T.I. broke down in tears after his son was hospitalized. That's not news. That's editing. But to someone scrolling fast, it feels real, especially if the page name looks like a media account. Now let's slow it down and talk about the real timeline again, because the real timeline explains why the fake story was so believable. The actual chain reaction started with T.I. feeling embarrassed by the versus situation. Then 50 responded with trolling instead of clarity. Then 50 escalated by posting Tiny. Then King escalated by bringing up Sabrina Jackson and posting the gravesite image. Then 50 responded with lol energy, basically acting like it didn't matter. Then King kept pressing, dropping long posts, and eventually releasing a diss track. Then the paperwork screenshot surfaced again. Then other rappers started reacting. And while all of this was happening, public attention went from "this is funny" to "this is ugly" to "this is getting dangerous." So, when a rumor page popped up and said, King got attacked, people didn't even ask for proof because it fit the mood. That's how you can tell when the internet is being emotionally manipulated. People start believing what matches the vibe, not what matches the facts. And here's another curiosity point. If King was actually hospitalized, don't you think at least one credible outlet would confirm it? Not a random TikTok page, not a faceless Instagram account, Not an AI voiceover reel, but a real reporter, a real news platform, somebody with accountability, because of a high-profile rapper's son was attacked in connection to one of the biggest artists in hip-hop. That's not a small story. It's massive. The kind of story that would be picked up quickly. The silence from credible sources is the loudest clue. Now, there's another reason the rumor didn't make sense. King's online behavior. Throughout this entire beef, one thing has been consistent. King has been active. Posting, responding, sharing, apologizing, releasing music. That's not the pattern of someone who's secretly lying in a hospital bed. And people might say, what if he posted before it happened? Okay, but then where is the follow-up? Where is the sudden disappearance? Where is the real-time confirmation from anyone close to him? Rumors like this usually collapse under one basic test: timeline consistency. But the internet didn't care about consistency because the rumor pages had something even stronger than proof. They had a villain storyline. They framed it like 50s affiliates did it, which makes the story sound organized and scary. And that's the second curiosity hook. Why do rumor pages love the word affiliates? Because it lets them accuse without naming anyone, and it sounds official without being specific. It's the perfect word for defamation by vibes. Now let's talk about T.I. crying, because that was the emotional centerpiece of the viral claim. People love the idea of a tough rapper being brought to tears. It creates a dramatic contrast. But again, there was no verified footage of T.I. crying over this specific situation, no credible report, nothing. What rumor pages did was take old emotional moments, stitch them into a new narrative, and let the audience do the rest. And here's the part that should make anyone skeptical. If T.I. was really crying at a hospital, would he also be actively promoting music, engaging online, and continuing his rollout like normal? People forget that public figures have patterns. When something truly life-threatening happens, the pattern changes. The silence gets heavier. The posts get different. The energy shifts. None of that was confirmed here. So the real story isn't King got hospitalized. The real story is that the internet tried to turn a messy online feud into a real-world tragedy because tragedy gets clicks. Now, while that fake part was spreading, the real beef kept evolving in ways that were already dramatic enough. For example, 50 started deleting posts about the situation, and that sparked a whole new wave of speculation. Because 50 Cent is known for leaving things up, he's known for standing on his trolling. So when people saw certain posts disappear, they started asking, why now? And the internet always turns why into because. People created theories, maybe legal pressure, maybe business pressure. Maybe he realized it went too far. Maybe he didn't want it on his page while promoting his bigger projects. Or maybe he simply got bored and cleaned up his feed. We don't know his exact reason, but the curiosity moment is this. Why does deleting a post make it feel more serious than the post itself? Because deletion looks like regret, even if it's just strategy, and rumor pages feed on that perception. They turn a normal cleanup move into evidence of a hidden crisis. At the same time, Tiny Harris stayed silent publicly, and that silence became its own storyline. Because it was her photo that kicked off the biggest escalation, yet she wasn't posting, yelling, or engaging. She let her husband and son handle it. That choice can mean many things: maturity, privacy, not wanting to add fuel, or simply refusing to give 50 the attention he wants. But to fans, silence becomes a blank page, and the internet loves writing on blank pages. Another interesting detail is how the involvement of law enforcement got twisted online. There were reports that police in South Fulton got calls about the rap beef and asked people to stop calling. That's real-life evidence of how internet drama spills into public systems. People were literally dialing emergency services over Instagram posts. That sounds ridiculous, but it's a perfect example of how emotionally invested fans have become. It also shows how the internet loses boundaries. People don't just watch drama anymore, they try to participate in it. And here's the curiosity hook. If strangers are calling police over a rap beef, what happens when those same strangers start believing unverified hospital rumors? It can create panic, harassment, and even real-world consequences for people who weren't even involved. That's why these content farm pages are dangerous. They're not just lying, they're activating crowds. Now let's zoom back to King, because King's role is what made this beef feel like a generational clash. You had 50, a veteran who has mastered the art of trolling. And you had King, a young man learning in public, reacting emotionally, sometimes crossing lines, sometimes pulling back and trying to defend his family name in real time. King's apology to 50's son was actually one of the most human moments in the entire situation, because it suggested King realized something important. You can be angry at an enemy without dragging innocent family members into it. That's a lesson a lot of older artists learned the hard way over decades. King is learning it on camera. But even with that apology, the beef didn't stop. Because apology doesn't erase the earlier posts, especially the ones involving Sabrina Jackson. That's the issue with internet wars. The internet doesn't allow clean resets. Even if you grow, people keep reposting your worst moment, and that keeps the conflict alive even when one person tries to calm down. Meanwhile, 50 kept doing what he does, acting amused, refusing to show emotional damage, and letting the other side look angrier. That's why his trolling is effective. He doesn't need to win the argument. He only needs to win the optics. And T.I.'s lane was music. He kept pushing forward with diss tracks and rollout energy. That's another curiosity moment. When an artist is promoting an album during a beef, how much of it is real anger and how much of it becomes marketing fuel? That doesn't mean the emotions aren't real. It means the situation can become useful. And in modern hip-hop, usefulness and emotion often mix together until you can't separate them. Now, let's address the paperwork part again, because it's one of the biggest reasons the rumor pages were able to keep the story alive. King posting alleged FBI documents was a headline machine by itself, because it turns a personal beef into a credibility war. But those same documents have been disputed publicly before. They've circulated in past beefs, and every time they reappear, the internet reacts like it's new. That shows you something important. Most people don't follow history online. They follow whatever is trending today. So a recycled screenshot can feel like breaking news if it's presented with confidence. That's why King's move mattered even if the document was disputed. Because the act of posting it was a statement. He was saying, "You're not gonna keep calling my father a rat without me bringing something back." In hip-hop culture, that's not just an insult. That's identity warfare. And when you mix identity warfare with family involvement, you get the most toxic type of beef. The kind that doesn't end with a handshake or a performance. Because now it's not about who has more hits. It's about who disrespected whose bloodline. And people don't forget those. So the reality is, this beef was already intense enough without adding fake hospital scenes. But fake hospital scenes are exactly what content farms do. They take a real story and add a tragic twist to maximize engagement. They know most viewers won't verify. They know emotions move faster than facts, and they know the comments section will do the advertising for them. Now ask yourself this, why didn't the rumor pages just stick to the real beef? Because the real beef requires context. You have to explain Verzoos, the tiny post, King's response, the documents, the diss tracks. That takes time. Fake drama is faster. He got attacked is one sentence. He's in a coma is one sentence. T.I. cried is one sentence. The less context you need, the faster it spreads. That's why misinformation wins on platforms built for short attention spans. And this is where we land on the most important point. The beef is real and it has escalated in public. But the viral hospitalization story has no verified support and appears to be manufactured for clicks. So what happens next? If the last week taught us anything, it's that this situation can change overnight. One post can restart everything. One meme can trigger another rant. One lyric can spark another screenshot wave. And as long as people are watching like it's a reality show, the incentive to escalate stays alive. That's why everyone is still refreshing their feeds, because this isn't just a rap beef anymore. It's a live internet event. And here's the final curiosity hook for this part. If a fake story about hospitalization can trend this easily, what's stopping the next fake story from being even worse? And what happens if one day a rumor like that becomes true simply because the internet kept pushing the conflict toward real life? And let's be real for a second. The reason this whole situation keeps growing is because it has every ingredient the internet loves. It has two famous names, a family getting involved, accusations that attack reputations, screenshots that look official, and one person, 50 Cent, who has built a whole second career off making people uncomfortable online. When you mix that with a young man like King who reacts fast and loud, you get a story that never stays still. Every time you think it's done, somebody posts again, and the cycle restarts. But here's the part most people miss. Even if 50 and TI stopped posting today, the content pages would still keep the beef alive. Because the internet doesn't need new facts to keep a story trending. It just needs new edits, new captions, new insider claims, new fake updates. That's why you'll see the same 3 images pop up again and again with different voiceovers, like it's a brand new development, and the audience keeps falling for it, because the edits feel like movement. Now think about how the rumor pages framed the hospitalization story. They didn't say, "We heard something unconfirmed." They said it like a fact. King was attacked. Then they added extra drama. He's in a coma. Then they added the emotional bait. TI cried. That's not an accident. That's a formula. They start with a claim, then they raise the stakes, then they add an emotional moment so people feel guilty if they don't share it. Because sharing becomes support, even if it's fake. And that leads to a scary curiosity question. What happens when people start treating rumors like charity, where reposting a fake story feels like praying for someone, so nobody wants to question it? Nobody wants to be the person saying, "Where's the proof?" Because then people respond, "Why are you so negative?" That's how misinformation hides behind emotions. Now let's talk about the attack by affiliates angle, because that's the part that made the rumor feel believable. People hear affiliates and immediately picture a crew, a group, a network. But affiliates can mean anything. It's vague on purpose. It lets the page accuse without being pinned down. If someone asks who attacked him, they can say, "I don't know the names." If someone asks, "Where did this happen?" they can say, "It's being covered up." Vague stories are harder to disprove, and that's why they spread. But here's the thing. Real incidents leave real trails. Hospital visits leave records. Police calls leave reports. Even if nobody wants to speak publicly, something leaks in a situation that big, especially when the names are that famous. So when a story like this has no trail, the chances are high that it's not real, it's engineered. And while people were distracted by fake hospital claims, the real beef was still doing damage in a quieter way. It was turning into identity warfare, not just insults, identity warfare. Because when you call someone a snitch, you're not just calling them bad, you're calling them fake. You're attacking their whole legend. And when you bring mothers and wives into it, you're not just fighting the person, you're fighting their sense of honor. That's why this conflict got so heated so quickly. It wasn't a friendly competition. It was a question of respect. And respect is the one thing people will ruin their own peace for. Now, let's look at the roles each person played, because it's like watching 3 different strategies at the same time. 50's strategy is psychological. He wants you to lose control first. He wants you to look emotional. He wants you to look reckless. He posts something that feels like a joke, but it hits a personal nerve. Then when you react, he acts calm and amused, like you're the crazy one. It's not about winning an argument. It's about controlling optics. TI's strategy is reputation and music. He wants to be seen as someone who won't be played, won't be embarrassed, and won't be labeled. If he feels disrespected, he answers with statements and with songs. His lane is to make it look like 50 is ducking, hiding behind memes, and refusing to stand on business. King's strategy is family defense and pressure. He doesn't want this to be a clever online game. He wants it to feel painful for the person who mocked his mother. That's why he went personal so fast. He wanted to send a message. If you cross this line, I'll cross it harder. Now here's the curiosity hook. When you have 3 different strategies colliding, who actually has the advantage? The calm troll, the veteran rapper, or the young guy with nothing to lose? Because each strategy has a weakness. 50's weakness is that eventually people get tired of the cruelty. Even fans who laugh at trolling start saying, "This isn't funny anymore." TI's weakness is that music takes time and the internet moves fast. You can drop a diss track, but a meme can spread across the world in 10 minutes. King's weakness is that emotion can make you cross a line that you regret later, and once it's online, you can't undo it. And we already saw that regret start to show when King apologized to 50's son. That apology was important, not because it ended the beef, but because it showed King has a line at least with the kids. He basically admitted, "I was speaking from emotion, and the child has nothing to do with it." That's rare in public beef culture, where pride usually blocks apologies. But now ask this. If King can apologize to the Sun, what does that say about the rest of what he posted? It suggests he might eventually look back and feel he went too far in other areas too. And that's where the internet becomes dangerous. Because the internet doesn't care about your growth. It keeps your worst moment pinned to your name forever. Now, another layer that made the hospital rumor spread even faster was the belief that this beef is turning into real street consequences. People love that narrative because it feels like the old days of hip-hop beef, where things weren't just online. But the truth is, most modern beefs are performance beefs. They're digital. They're about headlines. That doesn't mean they can't become real, but most of the time, the biggest damage happens to reputations, families, and mental health quiet damage, not dramatic movie scenes. That's why rumor pages have to exaggerate, because the real damage is slower and less cinematic. It doesn't fit in a 15-second clip. So they invent the quick ending. He got attacked. Boom, instant climax. Now, here's something else people should pay attention to. When a rumor is fake, the pages pushing it usually avoid specifics. They won't say what hospital. They won't say what city. They won't say what time. They won't show a date-stamped image. They'll say things like, sources say, insiders claim, word is, and they'll rely on the audience to fill in the blanks. That's not journalism, that's storytelling. And the wild part is, the audience participates. People will comment, I heard it happened in Atlanta, and someone else will comment, no, it happened in New York. And suddenly the rumor becomes confirmed because there are multiple versions. People don't realize multiple versions is a sign of a lie, not a sign of truth. So if you're watching this and wondering what's real and what's not, the simplest rule is this. If the claim is huge, the proof should be easy. If the claim is huge in coma, that's huge. There should be real confirmation. When there isn't, you're looking at clickbait. Now let's go back to something else that was real and extremely telling. Police getting involved in the sense that they had to tell people to stop calling about the beef. That detail is important because it shows you how the internet has changed the relationship between fans and celebrity conflict. Fans don't just watch now, they insert themselves. They pick sides like it's sports. They try to help their favorite. Some of them even try to punish the other side with harassment. And that creates the biggest risk in this entire situation. Not 50, not TI, not King random people. Unstable fans. Trolls. Attention seekers. People who want to be part of the story. Because when a beef gets this public, it invites outsiders to do reckless things just to feel involved. Here's the curiosity question. What if the most dangerous move doesn't come from 50 or King, but from someone who watched the whole thing and decided to act on it? That's the part nobody can control. That's why public escalation is risky. Not because the celebrities will necessarily fight, but because the crowd might. Now, another reason the hospital rumor was so sticky is because it attached itself to something that already felt serious, the gravesite posts. Once a grave becomes content, people assume the next step will be real-world payback. That's how the mind works. It's like the audience tells itself, if he did that, then surely something bad is coming. So when a rumor page posts something bad happened, it feels like the next chapter. But again, feelings are not facts. Now let's talk about 50 deleting posts, because that detail created a whole second storyline. Some people said, he's scared. Some said, lawyers stepped in. Some said, he's cleaning his brand. And all three could be wrong, because deleting posts can mean something as simple as this. 50 got what he wanted attention, and now he's moving on. That's how trolls operate. They poke, they collect reaction, then they pivot. But here's what makes it tricky. 50 also has real businesses. TV, film, Broadway production, brands. And when you're tied to big money, you can't keep certain types of posts on your page forever. Especially if they make you look like you're bullying someone's wife. Sponsors and partners don't like messy feeds, so sometimes the delete isn't fear, it's strategy. And that brings us to another curiosity point. Are we watching a beef? Or are we watching marketing collide with ego? Because TI is rolling out music, 50 is promoting projects. King is building visibility as a young artist. In modern entertainment, drama can be currency. That doesn't mean it's fake, but it means the incentives to keep it alive are real. Now, one of the most confusing parts of this situation is that people keep asking, who is winning? But the more honest question is, who is losing the most? Tiny didn't ask to be in this, yet her photo became a weapon. King didn't ask to be the main character, Yet now his name is tied to gravesite posts and snitch paperwork screenshots. T.I. didn't ask for the beef to become a family war. Yet now it's not just his reputation, it's his household. And 50, even if he's laughing, is now dealing with a level of personal disrespect involving his mother that most people would never want to see online. So if anyone thinks this is just entertainment, they're missing the emotional cost. And emotional cost is what makes people do unpredictable things. Now, let's address something else that's important. The way AI has changed rumor culture. Because in the past, if someone wanted to spread a fake story, they had to record a voice, edit a video, and put effort into it. Now, they can type a script, press a button, and an AI voice reads it like a news report. That news tone tricks the brain. It feels official. It feels like reporting. But it's not. It's just a robot reading lies. And here's another curiosity hook. If AI voiceovers are making fake stories feel real, how many people are being emotionally manipulated every day without realizing it? This beef is just one example. Tomorrow, it will be another celebrity. Next week, it will be another tragedy claim. And the audience will keep falling for it unless they learn to pause and ask, where is this coming from? So the most important part of this story isn't just the beef. It's the lesson. Viral doesn't mean verified. Trending doesn't mean true. 1,000 comments don't equal one credible source. Now, as the beef continues, what should people watch for? Not the memes, not the edits, not the dramatic AI clips. Watch for patterns that indicate real escalation, confirmed police reports, verified statements, credible outlets reporting the same thing independently, and clear evidence that isn't just recycled footage. Because if none of those appear, then the hospital story stays where it belongs, in the content farm fiction section of the internet. And that brings us back to the real timeline again, because the real timeline is still moving. T.I. is still releasing music and teasing projects. 50 is still being 50 online, whether he posts or deletes. King has already shown he can go extreme, but he has also shown he can reflect and apologize when he realizes a child didn't deserve the smoke. So the next chapter isn't guaranteed to be violence. The next chapter might be more music, or more trolling, or silence, or a sudden unexpected peace. But the internet will not accept silence. If they stop posting, rumor pages will post for them. And here's the final curiosity question for this chunk. If the internet can invent a hospital attack out of thin air, what else can it invent next? And how long before the invented story becomes more famous than the real one? The beef is real, the hospital rumor isn't confirmed. Wait for facts, not clicks.